Special Branch and MI6 officer and the author of Black Ops.
I was undercover for Special Branch in a jihadi organisation.
If you'd like to help Carlton keep producing the Black Spy podcast and receive episodes and information that's only available to Carlton's special Patreon agents, then you can donate as little as £3, €4 or $5 a month by signing up with Patreon. See the Black Spy podcast notes or Google Patreon Black Spy podcast and pledge your monthly amount. You can even win the opportunity to be a guest on the show. Thanks for listening. And don't forget to subscribe for free.
My name is Carlton King, and welcome to the Black Spy Podcast, the show that shines a light on the world of secret intelligence, national security, and armed governmental personal protection operations, and the geopolitical world in which everything lives. And that's what is important in the show, because my guests may have nothing to do with the secret world, but of course, geopolitics affects them as it does everybody else. And actually, this guest is no exception. I've got Yvonne back for part 2. She was basically coming back onto land after spending a great time at sea on various lines, the Pushkin, the Queen Elizabeth. And I said to her, in fact, this is where the secret world mixes as well. I said to her that when she was on the Pushkin, she may not have known it, but obviously the KGB at the time, the Soviet Secret Service, would have been looking at her and what was going on and trying to recruit people in one way, but also trying to prevent some of their other people moving to the West, as it was in those days. So there is a secret connection, albeit she didn't know it. Vonnie, thank you very much for coming back on the show.
Good afternoon, Carlton.
Great to have you back.
Thank
we
you.
are now having you as a landlubber, I think is what you ships people say.
I know. It's been quite amazing going to a trip down memory lane once more. Part 2.
I'm asking you to go back down memory lane and tell us what happened to you when you came back on land.
Absolutely, but just before I do, I just realised that I could have been a spy.
You could have been. You still may be. You still may be. You might have been an agent of the Soviet Union. We don't know. So yeah, we'll keep that quiet.
No, definitely wasn't. Definitely wasn't. But, it did make me think. What could have been? What could have been?
Absolutely.
But I'm just a little hairdresser. That's what I've always said.
I'm sure we'll find something different out as we keep talking.
Just a little hairdresser. That's me. So, okay. So I arrived back in London via Hong Kong, and where do I go first? I think I went back to Southampton briefly to visit the family, but I soon realised that my London life was where I wanted to be. I'd got used to living in London, but I thought I fancied a little change from hairdressing, and so I thought, where would I like to work? I'd like to work in Harrods. I'd like to work in Selfridges, maybe. Anyway, I've always been very lucky. Any jobs I've gone for, I always seem to manage to get them one way or another. So I went for an interview, and my first job I got was in Harrods. So I worked for a company called Crabtree and Evelyn via an agency, which was called the Four Seasons at the time. And yeah, I was put on a counter in Harrods. I had a little uniform, a little badge, access through all the underground tunnels, because I don't know if you've ever been behind the scenes in Harrods on any of your work, but certainly there's a catacomb of tunnels and rooms behind the scenes that the public probably don't know about. And you have to go in through a tunnel on the outside as staff to actually get into you don't go in the front door like the you go below stairs, as it were. So anyway, so I got this job and I thought, oh, I've got a job in Harrods. How amazing is that?
Great.
Oh, do you remember now where was I living? So I had to find accommodation. So in those days there was a newspaper called The Loot. Do you remember The Loot?
I don't actually.
Oh, well, it was pink and it was broadsheets, but it was all adverts. That's what it was all about. So there was an advert in there that said flat share in London. It was West 1. I wanted a West 1 postcode. So I managed to go and meet this guy that owned this flat. His name was David Ewing. There's another Southport connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, obviously, I just met Linda Gray when I was in Australia, and here I have David Ewing, who's advertising a room in his flat in Upper Berkeley Street. So it was Upper Berkeley Street in West 1. So off I go to visit David for the interview. And straight away I knew he was going to offer me I don't know why, but we just sort of got on quite well. And he explained that, there was a lovely sitting room and a long corridor, a bedroom at the end of each corridor. So there was quite a long way between the bedrooms. And then I think I had my own bathroom, but that was in the corridor as well, sort of thing, of the flat. Anyway, it was a lovely flat and it was great. So I thought, okay, this is good. But the rent was so expensive.
I was just going to ask you, what would the rent be in Berkeley?
I can't remember what it was, but I know most of my wages went on my rent. So I didn't have lots of spare cash. But, being as I'm a hairdresser, I soon realised I could do a few people's hair in the evening to top up my income. So that's what I did. But not straight away. So there I am working in Harrods, and but after a couple of weeks, I thought, oh no, this is so boring. Nobody talks to you. Nobody's interested. They buy what they want to buy. You don't have any interaction hardly with the customer. You put their goodies in a bag and take the money and off they go, and that's it. I'm used to knowing all about my customers. I know,
absolutely,
practically their blood group. I get involved. I know all about them. They know all about me, and so I got quite bored. So I said to the agency, "Oh, I know I really wanted to work in Harrods, but have you got anything else? Have you got anything in Selfridges?" And they said, "Yeah, well, we have actually. A position's come up working for Cartier." So I said, "Oh, that sounds interesting." So long and the short of it was they put me in the perfumery working for Cartier. Where the revolving door is on the front of Selfridges?
Yeah.
So as you come in that revolving door, my counter was right bang smack there. So I was virtually the first person you saw when you walk into Selfridges. And that's where I stood. And that's where you stand. And you stand and you stand and people, have a spritz of perfume. And again, very, very dull and boring. But, it was a lot more buzzy and lively there and a lot of social opportunities after work. A couple of my friends worked in Selfridges, so I had contacts there. But I was a terror. I was always going off the counter and going for a wander around the shop. I was always off chatting to people. I was never on the counter half the time. So
are you sure that the Soviets never got to you?
No, definitely not. So, but the good thing was I could walk to work, and it was great because Upper Berkeley Street is only around the corner from Selfridges, and so I could walk to work, do my job, walk home. But as I say, my rent was quite high, so I soon started doing the girls on the counters hair after work to top up my income. Mm-hmm. And I had a great time. I could go to the theatre. Went to see Diana Ross at the Albert Hall when she was there. It was just amazing. And then what else happened? Then, you know, I sort of got a bit tired of London life, and I wanted my own place. That's what it was. Oh, I think I got somebody to share my room for a while because, again, you know, because I was struggling financially. And, you know, you lose all your privacy then. And so I just decided I wanted to go back to hairdressing. That was what I wanted.
So may I ask you, Vonnie, did you never think, okay, some years back I had my own house,
Yeah.
I walked away from it.
Mm.
Is it now not time to get some of the proceeds of that house? Did you never think about that?
Well, I did get some money from the house. I think I got a cheque for £4,000. That's all I got.
Oh, okay.
And what I did was I went out and bought a car with the money. I bought a Honda Prelude, that's what it was, which I thought was the bee's knees. And it was quite sporty. And yeah, and actually at Upper Berkeley Street, I had a parking space, which was like on a lift. You drove it into this metal plate, and then it lowered you down into the underground car park.
Brilliant.
But yeah, imagine having parking in West 1 and living in West 1. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, it didn't last very long. And then a job came up in Ealing in a place called Pitts Hanger Lane, and I got a flat with the job. So a flat above the salon with the job was what was the carrot to get me into there. And plus, by then I'd re-established contact with my daughter's father, and our relationship was in full swing. And yeah, I was back there working and living. But yeah, you're right. Even though I had that, I needed my own place. So sure enough, I then went on to buy a property, a flat to begin with. I really wanted a flat in Pitts Hanger Lane, but they did come at quite a premium. So I was persuaded, against my better judgment, to buy something bigger, but in a less salubrious area. So I then moved to Southall. Lady Margaret Road was our address, which sounds really nice, doesn't it? But
yeah,
the address wasn't that great. I mean, my flat was great. It was huge. I had 3 bedrooms, a big hallway, and yeah, it was good.
So how difficult or how easy did you find it buying? Did you have enough cash, or was it easy to get a property?
Right, in those days you could get 100% mortgage, so that's what I did. And my income wasn't probably sufficient, but in those days, slightly dodgy mortgage broker or something, I don't know, somehow they managed to get me a mortgage, and as long as you could keep up the payments, they were happy, and that's what I did. But then we had the crash with when virtually overnight the mortgages, well, my mortgage doubled. So
went 15%, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So my mortgage went from £340 a month to £700 a month, and I was like, panic. What am I going to do? Because by this time I was pregnant with my daughter, and so I needed to have a secure home. So luckily, because I had quite a big property, I put an advert in the Loot again, and I got 2 tenants, Christine and Sarah Jane, came to live with me, and they became lifelong friends. Sadly, they both passed away now. One had cancer. Christine had cancer. She went back to Australia and sadly passed away. And Sarah Jane literally passed away at early stages of COVID. She just went to bed one night and didn't wake up.
So very obviously very recent then in the COVID situation last year.
Not that long ago, and the only reason I knew was because I hadn't had any response from her. I mean, I was sort of out of touch, other than Facebook, and I put a happy birthday post on her profile, and someone said, told me what had happened and that she'd passed away. So that's how I found out. So I think she just went to sleep one night.
Were they young people, older people, same age as you?
Yeah, my age, absolutely. Right. Yeah, so very young.
Absolutely, 24. Yeah.
So, but all the years we lived together, they were great fun. We had a good time. I mean, it's always difficult sharing, but it was fine. We lived together like flatmates. It was fun. It was really good. Brilliant. And then I had a bit of a problem, and then gradually, one by one, they moved out, and my financial situation got better. My daughter was going to school, so I was able to work more, and so very slowly I built up enough funds to be able to move and get a house, which I did. But I had quite a problem with neighbours there. The flats were not very soundproof, and whoever lived above were very, very noisy. So we had lots of incidents with neighbours and different people living in what it's like when you live in flats. It sometimes it can be good and sometimes it can be not so good. And I had my neighbours at one time, the last lot, were threatening me and all sorts. So it was pretty bad. Yeah.
So this drive you out of the flat into a family house, but again, how difficult was that in terms of the jump from a flat to a house?
Well, again, it was tricky, but because I was able to work not only during the day, but I always worked in the evenings as well. I mean, I used to have people having their hair done well into the evening. Just that's how I did it, really.
So how did you find that? Because you're a single parent now then, and you've got your child going to school. You're obviously, that tenacity which you've had all through your life is beginning to show. But is there not a time when you say, you know what, I'm knackered, I don't want to keep doing this?
Probably, but I was having a great social life as well.
All right, okay, fair enough.
I had a really great group of friends, and we used to go into London. So I'd get a babysitter, or I mean, I wasn't leaving my daughter when she was very young. I mean, I'm thinking, how old would she have been when I started going out a lot? Probably she'd be about 7 or 8, so old enough to be left with a reliable babysitter.
Yeah.
And so I had a great group of friends, and on a Friday night we'd go out into London, have a great time, and meet some really interesting people. So it was fun.
So is this your upward trajectory as well, in terms of you actually thinking, where am I going to land full time? What am I going to do? How does that work?
So to begin with, I was working freelance, and then I thought I needed a bit more security. I needed more of a stable position. So I went into teaching. So I retrained as a teacher, and I started teaching hairdressing. So I was down in Chelsea and Westminster College, which the hairdressing department was in Ladbroke Grove.
Okay.
So I was teaching hairdressing there, and that was good. And I never thought I'd give that up, because it's a very secure job. It comes with a pension, and it was good. And then one day I was just flicking through the hairdresser's journal, and this job just was shouting at me and it was at Stoke Park Club, which is a private members golf and country club. And I thought, I remembered I'd done a wedding there. One of my freelance jobs was a wedding there, and so I knew the place was pretty special. And they built this amazing spa there, and I thought, let's just see. So anyway, I went for the interview, and the hairdressers was a franchise. So that belonged to an independent company called Mortimer's, and the owner was Stephen Anderson, who's still a very close friend of mine. So he wanted me to manage his salon within the country club, and he had another branch in Chalfont St Peter, which is a village nearby. So yeah, he offered me the job, and so I had to resign my teaching position and take up the management position at Stoke Park Club. And that's when it really opened my eyes to another world, really.
All right.
Because the rich and famous are seen crossing the threshold at Stoke Park Club. You never know who you're going to meet. I mean,
give us a flavour.
Okay, so who did I meet? I met Ronan Keating, Cliff Richard, Matthew Perry. Matthew Perry came in the salon one day, and I was just like when you meet someone that you just think, I can't believe it. And he said, I'm just coming because I need some wax for my hair. I said, Matthew, you have to sit down and let me do it for you because I have to tell everyone that I've done your hair.
All right.
So that was amazing. I was invited. I got to know the owners of the club quite well over the years because I was there for, when was I there till? I think I was there for about 6 or 7 years. Yes, at least 6 years. And they invited me to one of their private parties, which a private party, for them would be, formal dress. Anyway, it was a Hollywood party. So you just had to dress up in some sort of fancy dress. I could bring a +1. So I took one of my girlfriends, actually. And who did I meet there? Orlando Bloom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was chatting to Orlando, as you do, and everyone was, it was one of those situations where you don't ask them, an unwritten rule, you don't ask for photos or anything. So I said, can I have a kiss, please? They gave me a kiss. I said, oh, that's lovely. I said, I won't have a photo, but I'll have a kiss. So they gave me a kiss. So I had a kiss from Orlando Bloom. That's my claim to fame at the moment.
So the same way as you said before, you get to know these people's backgrounds, etc., etc. When you're doing these people's hair, was that the same? Did you feel the same? Yeah. So they spoke, and would they regularly return? A lot of these guys.
No, not the A-listers. They would be once in a blue moon.
Right.
So the main business was local community, and but it's a very affluent area, so the community are very well, what's the word?
Well heeled.
That's it. But very, very nice people. It opened up lots of opportunities for going to various events and things. They had a tennis event there called the Boodles. So and they've just signed a deal because at the moment the club has just been sold. There's a lot of controversy at the moment there because the richest Indian guy in India has bought the club for 57 million apparently, and nobody knew if it was going to open up or not, but apparently it is. And the Ace Group have signed a deal for 10 years. So apparently if you're a tennis fan, then the Boodles Championship will be on again next year. So so I expect I'll be going to that. I mean, I'm not a huge tennis fan, but my other half is. So I'll be looking at going to, and also the fact that I'll bump into so many people that I know up there. It'll be quite a social event.
Excellent.
So Stoke Park opened up lots of opportunities. However, they decided that they were going to close down the salon, and they were going to create something else in that space, which they did. They wanted to make it into hotel rooms and hotel reception, and then have their own salon. And at first they approached me and said, would I work for them? So I spoke to Steve and I said, look, as you know, they're closing us down as a franchise and they want to open up something of their own. What do you think? He said, well, it's up to you. You can come and work at our other salon if you want to, or you can stay here and see what they offer you. So that's what I did. So I helped them set up the new salon, which was all very ultra modern. I think they spent, the budget was quite high on the refit. I think it was in excess of 50,000 actually, if I remember rightly. It was a huge amount of money. We had the top salon designers in London. We went to visit not Michael Van Clark. Whose was it? I can't remember whose it was for the minute. Anyway, we based it on other salons in London, and I got to go and visit lots of people and meet people in London and chat about their salon designs. It was a really interesting project, and all the time I was managing the clientele so that we didn't lose any clients.
Yes.
So I got to go through the keyhole of all my clients. So they've been coming to me. Obviously, you get an idea of how they live, but you don't get a complete picture until you go through the keyhole, as I call it. Do you remember that program?
I do remember it. Yeah.
So it's really good fun. So I got the opportunity to visit people at home, still do their hair and get paid for it basically. So that was all good. So we had this huge launch party. All of that took about 9 months in total, because they were literally refurbing the whole. It was a whole spa that they refurbed. And we had a huge launch party. We had about 500 people come to the launch, and the new salon was opened. And then I went into work on the Monday, and they called me into the office and said, "Nothing personal, Vonnie, but we don't need you anymore."
Oh no!
We're gonna let you go.
So you'd set it all up for them. You'd kept the clientele, and then they wanted to live off your back.
Yeah, so that was that. I was absolutely shocked. I could not believe it. I was devastated. I just got in, and I had to leave immediately. You feel like you've done something wrong. In fact, people were saying, well, she must have done something, don't just do that, But honestly, I hadn't. They just didn't want to pay me, I guess. They didn't. Anyway, so off I go with my little cardboard box full of bits into my car, and I drove round to one of my clients' houses, and I burst into tears, and I said, I can't believe this has happened. And it was Steve and Moira Kuma, and Steve opened a bottle of champagne and said, don't worry, every time one door closes, another one opens. And I was sobbing into my champagne glass and wondering what on earth I was going to do. And sadly, Steve's passed away now, but his wife is still a very close friend of mine. I saw her the other day. And anyway, I made a plan and I opened up my own salon.
Brilliant.
Around the corner. And so I took the clientele with me. It took a while, but Steve, my old boss, helped me a great deal. We just had a unit. It was a breeze block finish. We had no literally I walked into this unit and all there was a blue piece of pipe in the floor. That's all there was. There wasn't even plaster on the walls. There was nothing. And it belonged to a builder. He said, yeah, you can, it's up to you, but you have to sort of fit it out. So that was quite a major task, but I was so determined, I did it. So I managed to create my business, which was Blank Canvas. That was the name of my business.
Brilliant.
So I started with one unit, and within a year I had to take on extra space. So I created a second unit, and Blank Canvas was growing.
It was born.
Yeah.
So when they fired you though, surely you were entitled to some sort of redundancy or anything like that.
Talk about it.
What?
I'm not allowed to talk about it, they said. But
right. Okay.
But yeah, off the back of that settlement, I opened my business.
Yes,
So,
I'm with you. Okay. So you did okay out of it at the end of the day.
There was no no procedure followed, and no, you have to follow procedure. You can't just do that to something.
Exactly.
So there we go. So Blank Canvas was born, and I took the lease for 10 years. So it was high street. Very stressful. It wasn't so much the business, but managing the staff. I always found it easier to be a manager than an owner.
Right.
Because when I was a manager, I always had the owner I could call upon, and I was always like a go-between between.
Or you could blame it upon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is what so it was just easier. But anyway, so after 8 years, I sold the business, and and I was going to work there for the owner, the new owner. So I went on holiday, and I came back from holiday, and the plan was that I'd stay for a couple of years, gradually introduce the clients to the new person and pass them over. Basically, that was my plan. Anyway, I came back and she said, "Here we go again. It's like history. We don't really think that having you here is what we want. So we don't want that. So we'd like you to go."
Yeah.
So I went, "Oh, okay then. Here we go again." So I came home and said, "Oh right, what we're going to do now?" So, but all my clients still want to see me. This is the thing. So, but I've got nowhere to do their hair. So, oh golly. So I end up doing clients in the kitchen, and that's not my thing at all.
But may I ask you, what made you sell? You had a business that was flowing.
Well, I think it was mainly due to my health.
All right. Okay.
I'd had quite a major health incident. I'd had diverticular disease, and I had to have my colon removed. So that was quite major. I nearly died. It was really serious. And when you have these life-changing things with your health, it really makes you think. So I thought, I don't need the stress, and it is very, very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
As I say, it wasn't so much the business, it was managing the staff. And for a long time we thought we would get a manager in and do it that way, but the problem with hairdressing is people want the business is very much about you personally, and if you're not there, it changes the whole dynamic. So therefore I just felt I've been working a long time. I've been working 50 years.
Yeah, true.
It's about time I had a rest.
So when you say we, because I noticed you use the royal.
Oh, my husband, darling Dave, yeah.
Right. So at this stage, your life has changed. You've found a new partner, etc.
Yeah, I probably should talk about darling Dave.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to pry again, as I always say, but let's make the story complete.
So whilst I was working at State Park, I had a client called Jean, and she'd met her husband online. I'd always been dead against it, really, because.
And this was about the year, just to get the idea of that.
Yes, no, we've been together about 14 years. He'll kill me for not knowing, because he's very pedantic. He knows exactly what he wants. Anyway, we've been together 13 years, and so Gina was saying to me, "Oh, Vonnie, you've got to get online." I said, "Oh no, I don't like it. I tried it once. I went on a date once. This guy came to pick me up at the club, and his car looked like it looked like the Batmobile. It was one of these it was a black sporty car, and it had a great big spoiler on the back." And I remember thinking, I think he was a mechanic, and I thought, oh well, it'd be handy. I'll be able to fix my car if it breaks down. Being a practical person. Anyway, as he pulled up, he jumped out of the car, and I said, "Oh, I was expecting you to have a cape, wearing a cape, like Batman." He just did not crack a smile. And I
didn't like it.
This is not going to work. This is definitely not going to work. So needless to say, I didn't see him again. And
so how do you find that? How did you find that sort of online dating? Was it imposing? Was it stressful? Using the word again.
Not stressful. I thought it was great fun.
Oh, it's just fun.
Something to do on a Saturday night if I didn't have anything to do. I thought it was great fun. So another one I called him on. So that was Batman, and then the next one was on the buses. And on the buses, I met at the Dorchester. I suggested it, because I thought, right, he can meet me for a drink in the Dorchester. That's a nice venue. Totally above.
A very nice, expensive venue, yeah.
Above my station. Really going for a drink. Anyway, he said, have you got your Oyster card? And I said, what? He said, have you got an Oyster card? I didn't know what an Oyster card was. He said, yeah, because we'll have to get the bus to get to the station to go home. I said, what? Aren't we getting a taxi? I've been working at State Park, so my ideas are, as my mum used to say, above your station.
Above your station, yeah.
Above your station. All my ideas have always been above my station. So anyway, I said I couldn't possibly go on a bus. So he said, oh, very begrudgingly, we got a taxi, only to the station. I mean, it was literally up Park Lane to Marble Arch. I mean, it was no distance.
Yeah.
So we get off, and I realised that I've left all my shopping, because I'd done a bit of shopping while I was in London. I'd left it in the cloakroom.
Oh, no.
I said, we've got to go back. He's like, well, we're not getting another taxi. We're getting on the bus. So after that, he was called on the buses. So my girlfriends just cry with laughter when I tell them the story. So anyway, I can't remember whether we did get on a bus. I don't think we did. I think I maybe went on my own from there. But I did see him again because he was a very good dancer, I remember. So we went salsa dancing a couple of times. But he wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So that was the end of On the Buses. And then I thought, well, I wasn't going to bother it. I said, oh, no, Jean, I've tried it a couple of times. It's not for me. She said, go on, you've got to try one more time. So I said, oh, go on then. So I put an advert on this online website. I think it was £5 for 7 days or something like that. So I always say to David, I bought you for a £5 because he was the only one I met, yeah, we just clicked. And so he drove up. He lived in Worthing, and he'd lived there for 22 years, and I lived in Greenford at the time. And so he said, well, where should we meet? I said, oh, I'm thinking I was doing him a big favour. I said, let's meet in Marlow. I like Marlow. I still love Marlow. So we met at the Marlow Bar and Grill, which he thought was a greasy spoon, but it's actually a very upmarket restaurant and bar. And he said, well, shall I book a table? I said, oh, no, we'll just have a drink, because I've been caught out like this before.
Yeah, absolutely.
You go for dinner and you're bored to tears and you can't wait to get away. So initial meeting, you just have a drink, and which is what we did. But we did click, we did get on, and we did go for dinner. We couldn't get a table in that restaurant, actually, because it was full, so we had to go and find somewhere else. We stayed until the restaurant closed, talking. He walked me back to my car, kissed me goodnight, and then for the next, every week, he came up to see me every Wednesday and Saturday until he moved up to live with me.
Oh, really? Nice story.
So that worked out well. And then we moved out to Buckinghamshire, and together. He didn't sell his house. I didn't sell mine, because we were both like hedging our bets.
Yeah.
You never know at our age,
Yeah.
I think we were 50. I was 50, he was 52. And yeah, so we both kept our properties and rented them out and bought a house together. And then 3 years ago, we got married.
Yay!
Yeah, we had a fabulous wedding, absolutely fabulous. We were married in church. We were allowed to, because the vicar was happy. We were both divorced, but neither of our divorces involved each other. You know, it was sort of a long time ago for both of us. So yeah, so that was that. So that's all done. So that's Darling Dave, and we're still together now. So back to the plot. I now am faced working with no premises. But I didn't, I couldn't see all my clients anyway, so I had to reduce my list. So I converted my garage. So once again, another build, knocked down a wall, got rid of the garage door. So I'm sitting in what was my old garage as we speak. But I love it, absolutely love it. So I just see a handful of clients now. People that are, very special to me, and because I'm.
Is it really just keeping your hand in more than anything else?
Yeah. My husband's, and also because my darling Dave is working full time still, so I think when he retires, I'll have to rethink. But also, I have my granddaughter 2 days a week, which I love. I love doing that. That's the best job in the world, being Nana. And so it's all about her now, really. And I don't know. I mean, how long can you carry on working for? Well, people in my profession carry on into their 80s.
Sure.
It's like letting go of a good friend. It's so hard to give up your clients. It really is, because they become so close. They become like your family, so you know all about them. I mean, some of my clients have been with me now 35 years. And they still come. It's incredible.
So you've seen the children grow up, etc., etc.
Absolutely, and they've got children of their own now.
Yeah.
One of my clients was actually my doctor. She was my GP when I was pregnant with Jasmine, my daughter, and she still comes. I mean, she's in her 70s now, and she gave up her car recently. And I thought, well, that's going to be it now, because how's she going to get from Ealing, out to Bucks? Because there isn't a direct train or anything. But no, that's not stopped her. She gets a train out to Reading or Maidenhead, I think, and then she gets then she gets another train, and then I go and pick her up at the station.
Brilliant.
And so we still, those friendships and relationships are forged, between, and I'm sure many, many hairdressers listening to your podcast, Carlton, will relate to this, that, people become so close to their hairdresser, often closer than their own family. And
I can believe that.
And, and from behind the chair, as I call it, I find out, the information that's passed between hairdresser and client is just incredible. That's incredible. That's another book. From behind the chair, stories.
Sounds good.
But I always say, it doesn't matter what I need or want, I can get it without moving from behind my chair, because somebody will come to me with whatever I need. I mean, one day I was at work at State Park, and I said, I really fancy changing my car. I've always wanted a convertible, but, I can't afford it. And one of my staff said, my husband's a car dealer. I think he's got a convertible at the moment. He'll bring it. By lunchtime, he'd driven the car up to show me. He'd taken mine in part exchange, and I drove home in a new car. I hadn't left the salon either.
Brilliant. What was it, by the way? What was the car?
It was a Volvo. It was a
Volvo. Yeah.
Volvo convertible. I loved it. I kept it for about, I don't know, 10 years or something. Yeah, I'm not a great one for changing cars that often, but it was great. I had a lot of fun in that car. So perfect. So everything sort of comes to behind the chair in one way or another. You can find whatever you're looking for. Do you know a carpenter? Do you know an electrician? Do you know someone that makes fitted wardrobes? Whatever you want to know, your clients have always got that information, and equally I pass that information on to them, because Absolutely. I know so many people. I usually, if someone asks me about something, I can usually put them in touch with someone who can help them. So it's like a network. It's a real network. It's great fun.
So how did the DJing start? So I take the account you're doing hairdressing, and
Yeah,
your business. You're running a business. You've got houses. How did the DJing come about?
I know. Well, I do yoga, you see. So I was a
Okay.
member before COVID. I mean, I still am a member, but before COVID, the class at David Lloyd was run by my yoga teacher, Linda. Um, and we all used to have a cup of coffee after yoga and get to know one another. And I was just chatting to Malcolm, one of the guys that does yoga, and he said, I said, oh, what are you doing? He said, oh, I'm just planning my radio show. I said, oh, radio show? And, tell me all about it. And he said, yeah, this is what I do. And I said, oh, I've always wanted to do that. That sounds really fun. And he said, well, why don't you come and help me one day? So I said, yeah, that'd be great. So one day, sure enough, he invited me to co-host his program. I'd never done it before, didn't know what I was doing. I just turned up at the studio and he sat me in front of the microphone and he ran the show, but I sort of chipped in here and there. And at the end of the show, his coordinator, Mary, who I work with now at the program, she said, you've got the job. I said, what? She said, you've got the job. I'm like, oh my goodness. So they offered me my own show virtually on the day that I helped Malcolm. It was incredible. But it was so daunting because it's community radio. You have to learn how to operate all the equipment, and I'm not the most tech. I'm not slightly techie, to be honest.
Right.
It was quite tough. So I got my friend DJ Dan to come with me because I thought, if all else fails, Dan, he knows his stuff. He can help me out if I get it wrong. But he actually jumped at the opportunity to come and be part of the show. It's been a lifelong dream of his to have a radio program, and the fact that we can do it together, it just makes it a lot of fun, and we love it. We just do it once a month at the moment. There are opportunities to do more, and I probably will take some of those opportunities as time goes on, and my duties as a nana are freed up. Kids go to school and suddenly you've got a bit more time on your hands, and yeah, so that's how I got into that, really. So again, through networking. So
yeah. So putting your life together and what we've heard, the tough start, as I call it, the hard times, then jumped into the good times. Which would outweigh the other?
Definitely. I'm enjoying life now very much. I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful for how my life's turned out. But I think because of the struggles that I had in the past and how difficult times have been, it makes you appreciate the good times now. So I love it.
So would you say the good times outweighed the bad times?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah, you can't dwell on the past, can you? Really? And I don't think about it. It was only when we got chatting really that I delved back into my past. I mean, the only other time it came up recently was I'm in a book club, and and we talk about situations, and sometimes I can't believe how aghast people are when I come out with things that have happened to me in the past, and because it's been thought-provoking by reading a specific book. There's 10 of us in our book club, and we all speak quite open and honestly about things and discuss our book and the characters in the book, and it does sort of prompt memories. I mean, what we've talked about only really scratches the surface, which is why I've got to start writing the book, haven't I?
Yeah, absolutely you do. And I would suggest you get it written and work it through and think, because again, the other thing is that these things can be cathartic. So it can bring your life together in the round so you can see it.
Yeah. Well, my first job is to get my auntie here for a holiday, and so that we can go back down and get the timeline nailed down a lot more clearly. And also, you know, she's my last survivor, apart from my mum, who won't talk about anything. My auntie is my last surviving relative that has the key to the past. And I think it's so important. But the other thing I'm doing at the moment is I've got a DNA kit. So I'm going to register, you know, you can register on the DNA kit, because I'm hoping to come up with somebody from my biological father's side to, you know, to make some contact there.
Yeah, to complete you. Yeah,
I mean, and equally, I'm always hopeful that long lost family will contact me and I can be, you know, on the show and they'll help me as well.
They'll do it for you, absolutely.
Yeah, because
this is the easier route.
They nearly did, and unfortunately I was scuppered by ill health. But you know, I'm over that now. I've got over that hurdle, thank God, and I'm very grateful to still be here and to, you know, to live my life. So yeah.
And that made you think as well, didn't it? Your brush with death as such.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it puts it all into perspective. So you have to live I know it's a cliche, but you have to live every day to the full, and you know, try and enjoy it. So you know, for me, that's why I know all these people. You know, my yoga's really important to me, nutrition. That's why, you know, I love Jenny and Linda, and I'm going off on a retreat with Jenny in September, so I'm looking forward to that. All about, you know, keeping your body to the best you can, really, and as healthy as you can. I mean, I'm not fanatical, but you know, I just realise the importance, and especially as you get older, you know, strength training as well. So shout out for Vicky, my strength trainer as well.
Oh, brilliant.
She's helped me a lot to understand. I've never been a gym bunny. I've always liked my yoga, loved my dancing, that sort of thing, and swimming, but not. I've never been a one to get in the gym and do lots in the gym. But I have learnt the value of a bit of weights as you get older as well.
Yeah, but the three things which you said, if you do them to any level, are also keeping you very, very fit.
Yeah, fitness, definitely. Yeah, and even just my work, you know, you've got to be fit.
Yeah, true.
And do hair, but yeah, I don't know. I won't be able to do it forever, but I can always do one or two.
Excellent. So if we're going to close and put your life together into the round,
yes,
how would you sort of put your understanding of what, when you were that young kid who I've put on the picture, who is determined?
That's actually my mum. That's not me.
Oh hell! Okay, same determination, I would guess.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think? First of all, the first question would be, what did you think you could be? And secondly, what do you think that you could have been even better, if there's such a thing? Maybe there isn't.
Yeah. Well, my grandmother, as I said in the first podcast, was the driving force in my life, and she made me believe in myself. So, you know, she was always a very positive person, and she felt that I could do anything. And she used to say to me, "You were born under a lucky star," and I I believed her. And you know, there has been a certain amount of luck attached to a lot of what's happened, but you know, you could say there's been some bad luck as well, but I've you know, I've come out of it fine and, you know, well adjusted as far as I can tell. What would I have done? I always wanted to join the Wrens, but I couldn't do that. But I still went to sea. So I always felt I achieved the travel ambition of being in the Navy and going to sea. And the reason I probably wanted to do that is because I've got pictures of my granddad in naval uniform. He was Navy, and I think that was what the interest was born from there. So yeah, I feel as though I've achieved it, or mostly what I wanted to achieve. I don't feel I've got a great big burning passion to do anything more than I've done, or yeah, I'm really happy with my lot now, really. Just really happy to be healthy. I think that's the main thing.
And that is where I shall leave it, because what is better than to say you've done what you wanted to do?
Yeah.
You got to where you wanted to get to. By the way, you got to a lot of places in a time when most people didn't get outside of the United Kingdom, never mind to Europe. So
Yeah.
in a way, you did more than most.
Yeah.
And then thereafter, built yourself a nice life that you can enjoy your Royal Ascots.
Yeah, exactly. Love a bit of racing.
Yvonne Vonnie Williams, Yvonne Vonnie Walton, whichever name you want to use, because we like names.
I've got an identity crisis.
That's the one. No, absolutely fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much for being on the show. As I said last week, I do believe that what you have done and what your story tells people is that there is always a way forward. And I would put something else to it. Let's just use the statement, you make your own luck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can make your own luck in life for sure. Yeah. You can always find an alternative, and often things happen. I know it's an old cliche again. It's happened for a reason, but often you don't realise that. For instance, my first husband having those affairs and cheating on me. He did me the biggest favour of my life, because had he not done that, I would still be probably living in the same house in the same town, and lots of other people. I never would have got out into the big wide world and experienced what I've experienced. So I'm actually very grateful to him, even though at the time
Brilliant.
it was the end of the world. But there you go. Sometimes it's just the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that, we leave it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So you've been listening to a very strong lady who can show you that there's always a way forward. And hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. All the best.
Thanks, Carlton.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to help Carlton keep producing the Black Spy podcast and receive episodes and information that's only available to Carlton's special Patreon agents, then you can donate as little as £3, €4 or $5 a month by signing up with Patreon. See the Black Spy podcast notes or Google Patreon Black Spy podcast and pledge your monthly amount. You can even win the opportunity to be a guest on the show. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe for free.
Here is a working class spy telling his stories, the secrets, the lives of spies. Feel free to message Carlton King on all socials and give this show 5 stars on Apple iTunes and subscribe so you never miss a single episode. For your ears only.
I was a member of Her Majesty's Secret Intelligence.